Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Maniac, Season 1, Episode 4. And yes, I know it's a limited series, but sometimes I say the season because I'm just so used to doing it for every other show. It's called
Because you're a
Furs.
goddamn amateur.
It's called Furs by Sebastian. Full spoilers for the episode. We're in the 80s world, and it's funny. The episode started, and it was going along, and we see her at the DMV. And we're like, what's she doing? She's trying to track someone's license plate. And she's asking the woman, she's looking in the reflection of the glasses to get the license plate. I'm like, what is this about? What's happening? And it's all about trying to rescue a lemur, which belonged to an old woman at the hospital where she works, where Annie in this world works. And she probably should find the lemur or take the lemur to her daughter, to the old woman's daughter. But they're big in the black
Got
market.
stolen.
Some thugs steal the lemur, so she's tracking down the thugs, and it becomes a bit of a caper with her and her husband, of course, who's Owen in this reality, in his mullet and jock shirt, and they have to try and break in and get the lemur, and that's kind of the plot of the episode. And obviously, you have the surface.
Sounds stupid when you say it like that.
It does sound stupid when you say it like that. Obviously, there's a surface level plot, which leads to some fun elements and some silly moments with them breaking in and. Some ridiculous stealth sequences and, just some outrageous humor.
I don't think anything is topped. And just the sheer audacity. Nothing is topped by the mob gangster man who owns the fur store pulling out the Uzis and going, you've just got to F him in the face.
I don't know. I think the death of the son who gets shot about 99 times by
it's the final shot where it goes through his chest, like it bursts through.
Yeah, but by that point he's already had bullet holes throughout his entire chest. He's just like covered in red holes.
Yeah. But it's that final moment of just the exploding through the back that got me.
And it's worth mentioning, this is not the police that shoot him. This is the fish and animal...
Fish and wildlife
control, or whatever they're called. And the joke is that they're not really the police, but they still have guns. And they still show up with like multiple cars, and everyone has like a standoff.
As they say, they're basically on the same level, authority-wise.
Because later on, when they come to the house to get them, their cars are covered in bullet holes because of the shootout. And he's actually investigating this lemur because they're illegal here. They have to go back to Madagascar. That's what they're doing. But of course, so you've got the surface level plot, which is kind of fun with all this stuff going on and kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the kind of the sweet, odd relationship between them. Also, Emma Stone's putting on a thick sort of New York accent throughout all this.
It's very trashy.
Very trashy. But I think obviously the interesting part in terms of the overall show is like, okay, so what's this one really about though? How does this tie into what the show actually is?
You're kind of waiting all episode going, what's the point? So this is a world that they're in because of the pill they've taken.
Yes, but it definitely feels like it's more her world than it is his. There's still elements of his. I think he's here because he wants to have a normal life, and I think the idea of being a guy who's into sports and just has a wife and kids is kind of that for him. Like he wants to just be that normal guy. Whereas for her... And because you said there you're waiting for that moment, where does this sort of all click in? And I don't think it ever does actually have that moment. I think just as you're watching it and you think about the themes and you think about what it's about and how each part adds up to relating to her story. I don't think there's a specific moment where it clicks and says, okay, that's why it clicks into her story.
I disagree. I think when we're at the end in the woman's house, and she kind of has that moment, that realization, I kind of go, oh, okay, that's what this is for her specifically.
Well, what's that moment? Explain this. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, so this is the one where the truck goes past. It's this weird moment that only her and Owen seem to notice. So it's clearly something going on with the world, right?
Yeah, the truck that hit her car in the real world kind of drives by.
Yeah, but only those two notice it.
Mm.
Because she doesn't see it, she just hears it and kind of knows
what it is. As I was watching the episode, I was getting the themes. The idea that her plot in this episode is to help someone who has died. She wants to fulfill a task for someone who's passed away. And I'm like, okay, that relates to her story because her sister died and she was trying to find the dog. It's even an animal. I didn't even think of that when I was watching it, but there I just had that thought there. Right? So you have that. You have that, and then you have the further idea when she gets to the house and the daughter hates her mother. and doesn't want her to be around. And not only that, she finds out that her mother hated the daughter, and the lemur is more of an FU. It's a, hey, you have to take care of this now. I cared about this more than you.
The letter that she reads is fantastic. I know things got heated in that argument. I know you said things you didn't mean, but let me tell you again why lemurs are better than human children.
And I think part of this is definitely the idea that she is terrified that her sister hates her from beyond the grave because of how things ended, because of how she treated her. I think she's terrified of that. And there's that moment in the car afterwards where she's telling the story about her past and about her parents splitting up. And he's like, when did they get back together? And she's like, what? It's like, well, your parents aren't divorced. They're still together. And she's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. But obviously that story she was telling was the real story sort of bleeding in.
Yeah. There's the real nice moment for me is in the house when she says, oh yeah, maybe you don't need kids. Maybe you shouldn't. And I think for me, it's she's kind of in the opposite place to Owen. Whereas Owen just wants normalcy. He wants to, okay, wife and kids, the standard life, right? Whereas her, I think that's a moment of realizing that it's okay for her to just do her own thing and feel more comfortable as herself. And I think going, because part of this test is moving forward, being healthier. So I think that's it's almost a moment of self-acceptance.
Yeah, I don't know if we're super there yet though. I think we're on a journey. I think you've got elements of this, and the fact that they're looking out for each other is kind of sweet, and I think that's going to be something that again evolves as we go. I know the next one again, just from glancing at because the description of the next one keeps popping up.
The thumbnail.
Yeah, it keeps popping up. It says, I just saw the word seance. That's all I saw was the word seance, and it stuck out. It stuck out to me. But
okay. I mean, that's super easy to be with. Okay, you want to reconcile with people who are dead, right?
Sure, yeah. Although I would have assumed the next one was going to be more Owen focused, given that this one felt way more for her than it did for him.
I would have too, but I mean, it feels such an easy thing to make, right? That connection.
Yeah, no, it does. This is a really obvious one. Like I say, the idea that she feels desperate for whatever reason to still accomplish this task for someone who died. The idea that in real life that's how she is. She's obsessed with trying to find her sister's dog, and it's more about the symbolism than caring about the dog itself. It's just more about the gesture and the guilt of it. And then on top of that, the fact that her character's so different, but the same core, she's still the same. And what I mean by that is all of her crazy little schemes to get away with things, to sneak into places, to see the reflection. This is still her in real life. We saw her, break the machine to get the coins, to do this, to do that. She gets inventive in order to do things. And there's some funny moments where Owen's like, who are you, honey? Like, who did I marry? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and he kind of feels pretty normal for the most part. Right up until the end, and he sees the car, right? Like the spy car. Over the black spy car, and I think that was meant to be the brother in the back.
Oh, it's just the fake brother.
I couldn't see close enough.
I
saw the mustache and went, yeah, I'm sure, probably him.
No, it is. It's the fake brother. There's no doubt. It's just the fake brother sitting in the back seat of the car down the street. And again, it's that moment where I think it's just after the truck goes by. It's like soon after that. And it's almost like some of the world's starting to bleed in, because again, it's right after that where in the car she has her whole speech about that kind of bleeds in from the real world. It's almost like it's starting to crumble, and I wonder if that's actually what the problem is going to be with them two always being together, is that the illusion starts to break down, because they're there to almost like remind each other of what the real world is, and because of that the constructs will break down when they're inside.
Maybe. That said, I feel like part of the process needs to be that breaking down, that reality kind of bleeding in, so that it kind of it sinks in when they wake up, right? So that it feels like it wasn't just a dream, that it's like, oh yeah, that happened.
I don't know.
It's got to feel like they.
Well, I'll see what they tell me. Like, I don't know. This made up science. I have no idea.
To me, that would make sense to me, is what I'm saying.
I mean, they could just tell me they wake up and they remember and it's fine. And plus, there's still phase C to go through. There's still pill C. So this is not the end of the journey as pill B. So we'll see what happens. And I'm just wondering if that's what's going to go wrong, is that it's going to keep breaking down, and they're like, why is it not working? Why did they keep or maybe they're just coming out of it too quick. Like, they're just realizing far too quick that this is not the real world. and it's starting to. But he does have that great moment though, where he's like, no, it was just me. She had nothing to do with it. He tries to take the fall for her. He tries to be selfless and help, and I think that's another part of his character. Is he has this guilt again, going back to his backstory of his worst day, where he kind of like blew up in her face, and like, whereas now he wants to be selfless, like, to the best of his ability. He wants to be, selfless is the best word I've got for it. Yeah, he wants to be there for other people.
I would say he wants to be morally good because we've seen how his parents and his family are kind of sketchy. They'll do whatever they have to, whatever they want to, whereas he kind of wants to do the right thing.
Which is funny, I think, from Annie's perspective, is that she is kind of sketchy in how she achieves things, but she's very different to his family though, and I feel like that'll be part of the journey here. Is he'll see through her that I think they'll both learn from each other. I guess is what I'm saying. As cliche as that sounds,
I think the reason he may be more accepting of Annie is that she does things because she kind of has to, right? She hasn't got that much of a choice, given her situation in life. Whereas his family, he's like, no, you guys could do whatever you want, and you choose to be like this.
Yeah, and even the whole thing with his brother, like, oh, come and lie for me, and because the last episode where he's like, oh, you didn't do it right, he's like, well, of course I didn't, but he's like, yeah, he probably did. I'll buy it for a second. I'll buy it for a goddamn second. So I thought that was really smart, and obviously we've glossed over the fact that he has to distract the fur shop owner as she's sneaking in the back and doing whatever.
I love how by the end he was like, oh, I kind of like this, maybe I should get it. And she's just like, nope, let's go.
Yeah, I felt really nice. Like, I felt really smart and casual in there. I loved how out of place he looked though, because he's standing there with his mullet and he's jersey on. He's just kind of, I want to buy fur for the opera.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, the opera,
he
yes.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. Even the guy selling the fur felt like out of place almost. Like, he didn't feel like the sort of guy you'd expect to be in a fur shop. He felt like more of a.
Because he's a mob boss.
He felt like more of like a stolen TV kind of salesman.
It's so sketchy.
Yeah, sketchy. The fur industry is so sketchy. Which maybe you could read into that. The idea that they were like killing these animals to make coats out of them. They were it was this merciless act.
Yeah, assuming that the animals, in this case the lemur and most of it the dog, are kind of like the innocent bystanders, right? Of just they get caught up in it all, and it kind of goes wrong. It's representative of kind of what happens. The world is just like, yeah, okay, no, they're out on their own and they're screwed.
Yeah. But no, so it was, I mean, on its surface level, it was a really enjoyable little silly story. And both actors made these like versions of the roles entertaining. But then you start like getting to the sort of the meat of it, and okay, how does this relate to what's going on with the characters, and how is this kind of their fantasy playing out?
Yeah.
In some
it's
respect.
It's a surprisingly simple episode.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got through this pretty quickly, but it's really good.
But we never actually see it. The only time we see anything out in the real world is at the end when it cuts back to them sitting in the chairs, and it's just a couple of shots of their faces, and then it cuts to the credits.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it, done. So
I'm all right with that. I mean, it makes sense to me. You have a handful of episodes, maybe half the episodes will be like this, of just, okay, here's a concept episode. So to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, each one should probably dig into the characters a little bit more. And I think that's what will probably give this show the most of its weight, is the idea that the stories they're going through in different ways will help with their characters. And I think that's why it was important to spend 3 episodes really setting up their characters and really delving into what's making them tick, what is wrong with them, how do they feel about the world. They feel isolated, so he doesn't want to be alone anymore. She wants to feel like she has a purpose and she's not just waffling through life, and she wants to feel not guilty anymore.
After this episode, I appreciate even more that we went through 2 full episodes without going into the machine, because it really set up, okay, no, this is what this place is, this is where they are, this is how they feel. And I think that's so important to elevate this above just being, here's a fun concept for an episode, let's do that. And which could be, I could have fun with that. If this other deeper stuff wasn't there and it was just a fun concept, I'd still have fun.
I mean, part of me thinks, no, I think there's a way to do it that way, and still have the depth, where you throw us more into the deep end and you just slowly, through hints throughout each concept, reveal bit by bit what's actually going on, or what the characters are actually going through, and what their changes are. But that's not to say that this was the simple way of doing it, because I think there's obviously a lot of quirky little weird elements to the way this has been done as well.
I just really appreciate that we took the time. So when we get to we had the memory world last time, but that still felt so rooted in the reality of where we were. Whereas this is like, nope, okay, here's something completely different, and I feel like they made us wait a few episodes for it, and I think it paid off that wait because of it. I mean, the anticipation helped.
I'm liking what it's doing in terms of the using these situations to actually explore what the characters are going through. Like I say, I don't think there's necessarily a moment that it just clicks in this per se. It was when it got to the point of why she was trying to hunt down the lemur in the first place. I'm like, okay, right, thematically it's starting to sink in.
Yeah. I think, like I said, the clicking for me is where it goes going forward. Like, what everything's representing, you kind of get as it's going on, right? It's like, okay, that's what this is, what it's doing. But the moment where she has that, she's not there yet, but that realization, I don't think it's sunk in on a conscious level yet. But she does have that moment of, okay, that's where she wants to get to, being, self-acceptance. I think that's where it clicked for me, as to, okay, that's what the point of this pill is. Like, that's what she's aiming for.
And also, I think this just ties into his loneliness, I guess. But I like the idea that for both of them, I think part of what they want is someone else they can rely on. I feel like that's something they're both lacking. They're both loners. They're both completely isolated, and they both feel alienated by those around them. And what's interesting is that, arguably, with Owen, it's kind of the other people around him, their fault, whereas for her it's maybe more her fault because of how she treats people and how she drives them away. Because even her sister, she kind of drove her away before she drove her away.
Oh, definitely,
literally into the afterlife. Which, by the way, someone in the comments did confirm the truck was on the wrong side of the road in the flashback.
Thought so.
Yeah. So that's good to know going forward. But yeah, so no, it's interesting. Like I said, this was a quicker conversation. But it was more straight and to the point.
Yeah, I really appreciate how focused it was. How it's like, okay, this is what this episode is. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get in, get out. This was, average length. No, we've seen that some of the episodes are shorter, and now knowing what this style of episode is, I see the runtime for those episodes and go, okay, I'm not worried. I know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. This is the shortest one so far. But they're going to get shorter. 7 and 8 are pretty. They're like 20-something minutes each, as opposed to the usual, 45 or whatever. So no, that is Maniac episode 4. So by all means, let us know what you thought of it in the comments and stuff. We should be back hopefully tomorrow with the next episode. We'll try and roll them out as quickly as we can. So let us know what you thought. Get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the channel and everything we do here. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Worth doing that, because if there is any delays or anything like that, usually we'll tweet out about why or when to expect things and things of that nature. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have we got any vanilla?